Stream just fucked up. I think we're good.
What do you mean?
It said OBS disconnected, but then it
I think it's just me and you versus 3 guys.
oh, our teammates fucked. Ah,
Teammates not even in business, or not even here.
3-on-2 right now, bro.
Yeah.
Oh,
And you're,
I hate this
blind to
random
this guy.
fucking yeah.
bro. Why do they keep getting spikes? Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Hell yeah, Nico. Fuck them.
Oh. Oh. No, they can't fucking score.
Oh,
Last-
we're down 1 person.
Dude. This fucking big ass van going nuts.
He was, bro.
Big ass van was going. Damn, bro. Alright, we gotta win this next one.
I agree.
Ami 2022.
That was his name. I said, what's going on?
That song is actually my life.
Really?
Up in the morning, step outside, take it real high.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's literally my song. Woo! Talk about scoring. Talk about
Oh,
scoring.
easy. Easy money, dude. Damn, I don't know how the fuck you.
I'm just always precise. That's huge. That's gonna get
Actually
us
are.
ahead. And we got a 3rd fucking dude that's about to score the goal. Oh my gosh! We don't even need power-ups.
Dude,
We literally don't even
the only
need power-ups.
the only power we need is teamwork.
Yeah, literally.
I don't need no power besides.
How the fuck did that dude get to the ball so quick? Oh!
Yes! Yeah!
Oh my gosh!
Dude, that guy fucked his own team up.
Dude, they're gonna quit. Yeah, they're gonna quit.
They're actually gonna forfeit.
We haven't even used 1 power-up yet.
Nobody. There's not been enough time, bro.
No, yeah, we're scoring within
Less
10
than
seconds.
10 seconds.
Alright, let's see if we can keep it up.
Oh, I got fucked.
I got the spikes. I got the spikes. I need full boost. You need full boost with spikes. That's the thing.
That axe.
Alright, I got full boost.
Oh. Dude, I saw the
Here we go.
suction cupped it.
This is my moment. Fuck, I fucked up.
Oh, no, the
did you get
spikes.
Oh my god.
Dude, I fucking was plunging that shit right to me and he got it. Look at this. Look at that bullshit.
Yeah,
What the fuck
yeah.
is that bullshit? Oh, I got fucking
Woo!
knocked around, dude.
Got the spikes.
Ah,
They gave me the spikes again. They believe in me.
the Rocket League gods. There you go. Run.
What's that?
Oh, shit.
No! That was fucked. I had no boost. I literally said you need boost with the spikes, and I got the perfect spike attachment, but I had no boost.
Fuck, bro. Oh, Damn.
Bro, I almost plunged that out of there,
Dude,
dude.
the boot stomped me, bro. Multiple
got hit.
times. I didn't even know that was what it did.
He plunged it and I plunged it. That's crazy.
Can't all be plunging it.
I know. Oh my gosh. That was literally almost a goal
Oh!
from the tornado, dude. Nice.
Fuck. Where are these fucking... Gotta hit these... Oh! I was seconds
you.
away, bro!
I hate you.
Oh! Almost blew him up.
Nice. Perfect. Nice.
It's spiked! Yes!
Nice, nice. Yeah, that's the biggest threat against us.
100%. No! Dude, I can never use that shit.
This dude's camping in his fucking goal like a pussy.
People that play goalie, bro. Someone hit that in.
I'm hitting it. Oh, I missed it. I actually suck. Watch out, don't get hit by that dude, Nico. Yeah.
There we go. Right when I got the spikes, too.
Perfect spike usage. Somebody else got the spike.
Oh, I know. I literally just got the spike. I didn't get to you. So, man, how we doing? What's good, Jack Raven in the chat?
This one's for you, Jack.
Honestly. That's how you, bro. Thank you for being part of the community, man. Fuck!
Yoo-hoo!
I'm at the goal, bro.
Nice.
Oh, I got the plunger, though. Oh, no! Dude,
No way.
I got teleported right as I was plunging into the goal, bro. Run. Oh.
There you go. Ooh. It sounds like there's a real soccer fan crowd, though.
Dude. Spaniards.
Ooh. Nobody's getting that. I'm touching that. Ah! Nice!
Dude, how's this game not over right now? There's no time left. There we go.
Nice.
But that teammate, we kind of ripped it.
Yeah, he was
Goku
good.
2235.
Yeah, he doesn't mess around.
All right, Goku. All right, if I don't get one goal with a power, bro.
You got 3 viewers.
Yours?
Mm-hmm.
What? It says only have one.
Oh no, you probably only have one then. My shit's not even loading.
Yes.
Oh shit. Oh, I had to punch. The thing about it is when you have a great power up, but you can't use it.
Yes.
Like it gets
Oh.
wasted.
Fuck.
Woo! I jumped right over you. Keep hitting people. Nice.
Oh my. Scary out here, bro. Like the boys, you don't know who's souped up. Rocks pop.
Ah. Yeah, literally.
Ah, fuck.
Oh my gosh. That's a goal. Oh my goodness.
That's a good one, Ah, fuck.
Damn. It's up to me. All my other teammates got blown up. No way.
So much shit happening, bro.
Uh,
Chaos.
watch out. Nice.
Ah. In the goal, bro.
Oh my goodness, what the hell?
Me, bitch.
Yeah, but it like... Oh, shit. Oh, the magnet is
Damn it, bro.
trash, bro.
I almost fucking stopped that one.
Look at this. I had the magnet, and this dude's magnet is way more powerful than mine.
What you got weak ass magnets for?
That's literally.
Cheap ass. Can't even put that magnet on the fridge, bro. Shit'll fall off.
Literally, bro. It's that exact magnet that you're talking about. Oh my goodness. Goalie, goalie.
What a goal. What a fucking
Look, I would
goal.
have fucking fucked up. I would have fucked up if somebody hadn't kicked me. I got kicked and it fucking went perfect.
Dude,
bro.
I think that was me. I kicked.
Nah, you can't kick teammate.
I swear I saw my car. I had the boost.
Really? Nah, I don't think so. Did you activate it?
Yeah.
Wow, that was crazy then. Guess what? I got the spikes. Okay, I need boost. Somebody just took my boost and they scored. And
Nope.
I'm dead.
Didn't score though.
They still have the spikes? I got the spikes. Alright, I'm gonna come in hot.
Oh, fucking.
Fuck! I blew it. I blew it. I blew it. Yay! I got him! Oh!
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 It flew right over me.
Man. Look at this
Ugh.
dude. He's fucking me over. Oh my gosh. That was a good play. That is a good play.
Fuck that.
Look, they want to forfeit. Nope.
All right, maybe we should.
Nah.
Nah, fuck no. I'm
Fuck
not for it.
themselves. Yeah, I'm gonna
Honestly,
take the L.
If I score 1 goal, I won. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Literally won. Suck that.
I was about to say, how?
Oh, oh my god, I got frozen. Woo! Yes! Hell yeah,
Wow, that magnet was like the. I didn't even mean to do the magnet.
bro.
Like
It was
literally.
perfect.
I was like, this ain't gonna do shit. And then I'm like, oh, I guess it's doing something.
Perfect.
We could probably do this. We could probably do this. Oh, we could probably.
Oh, I
do
know,
this.
bro. No!
We could
Seconds
probably-
away.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
Oh! Alright, dude, alright, literally,
Ah.
just,
I'm gonna
Ez,
hit it
you
in
need
like
another
always.
instant goal, yeah. Instant goal right now.
Woo, right over the dude with spikes.
Bro, I got it. I got a straight shot, bro.
You got this.
Fuck. No! Fuck, bro.
Damn.
Dude. They're so lucky.
That was a good game.
That
man.
was about to be.
crazy.
We were gonna hit overtime.
I know.
We're literally about to. Second away.
Hey, back out, back out. I'm gonna go make some food, alright?
Alright, G.
Hey, man. GG's, brother.
was fun,
Love
dude,
seeing
yeah.
you. Yeah.
We gotta play more
we-
games. Dude.
Yeah, hop on when you're not streaming. We'll just fucking run it.
Sure, bro.
Yes, sir. Alright. GG's, brother.
Alright, bro.
Peace out. Yes, sir.
Gotta pee.
million times. So that's 3 times.
Well, then how does this stuff end up in boxes in people's?
If it didn't have the stamp, they probably them where they talk about the revelations that they're flying their aircraft overhead. As long as everyone's killing like hundreds of newspaper reports, that is what's publicly known, because pretty much everything they read is classified. So after a while, they don't actually know what the rest of the world knows. So even like senior CIA officials have commented on this kind of problem, and they call them innocents. They say there are all too many of these people in government, these people who don't actually know. The public already knows much of what they think is secret.
The thing that I don't understand is, and then you have those, they'll talk about, for instance, the Kennedy assassination. After 25 years, we will declassify all the materials from the Warren Report and the Kennedy assassination, and we will finally, and 25 years passes, and they're like, 40 years. After 50 years, we will, and then they declassify it, but they actually don't declassify everything, and then they redact the shit out of all these other things, and it's an incomprehensible jumble. And some of the things that they have classified are like newspaper reports.
Yes. So newspaper reports, that is a good example, because that's one way that Hillary Clinton got in trouble. Is that, she and her aides would pass between them, things that they read about in the newspaper. Right. And, Hillary, I guess, had trouble with her printers. It was like, print this. But in other cases, clearly she's sharing media reports with her aides. And the issue, though, is that in some cases, these are reports about programs that were still classified. Right. So to take like a common example, the drone program, where they were killing, people in Pakistan. So the U.S. government, even though they were running these missions for years and killing like hundreds of Pakistani citizens, the public position is, we can neither confirm nor deny. And so one reason for that, as absurd as it may seem, is that if they did acknowledge that program, and believe it or not, even the declassification of a communication between a Secretary of State and her aides about the program could be seen in this weird world, could be seen as an acknowledgement, that could create a diplomatic incident. Then the Pakistani government has to explain and answer for itself. Like, so why is it that you're letting the U.S., kill our citizens? Why is it they're flying their aircraft overhead? As long as everybody pretends it's not happening, nobody has to take a position on it.
But everybody knows it's happening. And there have been news reports that it's been happening. And so much of this, the only thing that's ever revealed, like the one thing I thought WikiLeaks was really amazing at revealing is A, how banal and how much of a fear-based industry it is.
Oh, yeah.
That it is people covering their asses and not wanting to take responsibility for decisions.
Well, journalists have a role in this as well, I have to say, and even some academics. That is, when we work on this subject, we want everyone to know how exciting it is, right? And it is. Like, there are really appalling secrets. Like, there are things that I discovered in doing my research, writing my book, that I was amazed by.
Don't tell me, because I don't want to go to jail.
No, can't tell you. Can neither confirm nor deny. But, like you said, when you look at the, even a fraction of 250,000 cables that came out because of WikiLeaks, right, that Chelsea Manning gave to Julian Assange that were then published for the world, it led to a whole series of stories in the media, right, dozens of them, where they talk about the revelations of WikiLeaks. When you track those stories down, in most cases you find that these are things that are already well known in public. It just so happened that they found a document that was secret that said the same thing. And the vast majority, like
that
I'm
was
talking,
stamped. That was it.
It had the stamp, so now the journalists are interested in it. If it didn't have the stamp, they probably would have ignored it.
We know this country has pulled a multitude of coups. We know this country has used all kinds of manner of propaganda and manipulation, especially when it comes to getting us into wars or keeping us into wars. We know all of these things. So why are we pretending?
Well, for a few reasons. I mean, one, like, it's how you get paid. I mean, this government spends over $18 billion a year on classifying and protecting information.
Wait, what?
Over $18 billion a year. This is bigger than the budget of like the U.S. Treasury, right? So this would be one of those larger departments in our government if all the spending on secrecy was in one place.
Well, then how does this stuff end up in boxes in people's... you would think for $18 billion, somebody would have gone and said, hey, man, I think we're missing
It's the volume. It's the volume. That's the other thing. It's the system can no longer cope with the sheer volume of so-called secret information. So back when they were trying to track this, the government used to put out an annual report. They still do, but they've basically given up on what they used to do, which is they tried to count how many times every year some government official classified something as secret. So in 2012, they said it was over 90 million times. So that's 3 times every second.
3 times every second, somebody is saying,
Yeah.
this is classified.
Right. And just the other day, I was looking at a document from the Carter administration. Back in 1977, they were trying to do something about this, impossible problem. And the NSA, the National Security Agency, the people like who spy on everyone and surveil us, they try to get exempted entirely, from the whole system for trying to review and release information. And one argument they made is that...
Was that request classified? Was that a top secret request?
It was in the Carter Library for decades before we had found this document with a bunch of other documents. So the figure they gave is they said, how are we supposed to declassify stuff? We produce 10,000 secret reports a day. So this is back in 1977. Can you imagine what the volume is now? It's estimated the State Department, even I think it was like 8 or 10 years ago, the State Department's producing 2 billion email a day, right? So how are you going to control and protect all of those secrets?
And the crazy part is, it doesn't feel as though journalists have any sense of how to put any of this into context. Right now they are chasing something that they believe is spy versus spy, Trump v. Biden, when they're not looking at the broader absurdity of the entire national security
I
state.
didn't mean to take it. I didn't mean to take it.
It's like every year or so, we're still playing the same games, but the sides switch uniforms, right? So if you remember, like during the Hillary Clinton email affair, we had a lot of Democrats saying like, oh, a lot of this stuff isn't even secret. Who cares? This is like, a bunch of bureaucrats coming after Hillary for their own self-interested reasons. When it happened with Trump and Mar-a-Lago, it's as if they all switched sides. And now it was the Republicans saying basically the same thing. The Democrats are saying that he's endangering national security. Now, I'm not saying that they're wrong, right? I think it's entirely possible, that some of the things that Trump took, he took because these really were explosive secrets. Like these could be deeply incriminating. And that's probably why we're going to talk about it endlessly, right? And with Biden too.
But the problem is we don't have a sense of what's actually deeply incriminating or what's actually deeply secret or what it is they're protecting. And by the by, these guys can just call up somebody. I mean, we just had this case now of the FBI agent, I think his name is McGonigal, who was looking into the information that Reality Winner had put out that the Russians were interfering with the election system. Well, it turns out now he is being accused of colluding with Deripaska, who is the Russian interloper who was there trying to interfere. Like, this whole thing is so deeply fucked.
Yes. And it's even more fucked than we realize, because the vast majority of us, like whether we're playing on one side or the other, we think what we're fighting about is secrecy. But actually, what bothers me is that whether we're talking about Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump or the Republican National Committee or what have you, what's at stake here is our history. Because what in every case they have done, even leaving aside the question of whether they endanger national security, they were stealing property, right? Those documents don't belong to them. They belong to you and me. This is our heritage.
Yeah, but you're appealing though to our higher aspirations as a country. You're not thinking about this in the Sun Tzu sense, which is everything is information to be weaponized. What has happened now to the information state is it is viewed in the same way that DARPA would view a new advance in technology is how do I, and by the way, I don't think that's new. I think weaponization of whatever weapons you have at your disposal to, attack your enemies has always been done, even domestically with politics, but it's really sophisticated now.
Well, to quote another sage, Dr. Phil, I would ask the question,
Nice.
how's that working out for you?
Well, I would say to that, to quote another Dr. Phil guest, cash me outside. How about that? So that's, I don't know what that
Well,
is.
it's a little bit like, okay, so you took up this cudgel and you're beating the crap out of the other guy because he was found to have these secret documents.
Right. And obviously,
yeah.
because he's Trump,
Yeah.
he won't cooperate. He's
Right.
above the law because he's a man of no accountability and all
Yeah.
entitlement. We know that.
Right. And don't get me wrong, I would join you. I would pick up another cudgel and I would continue beating him.
Yes.
But I might be beating him for other reasons, right? Because my grievance with Donald Trump is not only is he like the crappy, roommate who moved out and took a bunch of your stuff.
Right.
He's claiming it was his all along.
Right. Because he's the president.
Right. And so obviously that's different than Joe Biden, the kind of, at least so far anyway. We think he's probably more the absent-minded roommate. And he was throwing everything in trash bags. And he ended up taking a few things that were yours, and then he apologized and he said, hey, can I buy your
dear
coffee? And,
God.
Right.
But doesn't it show that in this country, when you're on the inside, you don't in any way abide by these norms and regulations that we all talk? See, that's what, when we talked about that belongs to the people.
Right.
It's that same stuff I have with the Hatch Act, where you can't from the podium of the White House try and utilize the bully pulpit for personal gain. And you're like, do you have any idea what branding is? Like, that's, of course you're using it for personal gain. But I think it's the condescension and the high-mindedness of what they say they're doing.
Right.
Versus the fact that, like, if you went there, they're probably using classified shit as coasters. Like, there isn't this treating of it with the solemnity that they say there is.
Right. Yeah, I think that's part of Hillary Clinton's problem with the email affair, is that many people thought, oh, this is just another example how the rest of us have to follow these rules, and we're going to get in a lot of trouble. We might even get prosecuted if we don't. Whereas, Hillary Clinton decided that it would be more convenient for her. I mean, she actually used the word convenient. It would be convenient for her to disregard these rules, these laws, actually.
Which they all do, because it is a city that runs on entitlement.
I know.
And where did she get this idea from? Colin Powell. Colin Powell told her, don't use that State Department email system. Don't worry about it.
It's a pain.
Yeah. You could use your own email. And by the way, we don't know everything that was said between them, but I have yet to hear a good explanation for why this was not about trying to avoid having any of these records released to the public. Because if you're creating public records, as even Hillary eventually found out, then they are subject to the Freedom of Information Act. So journalists and historians will come after you and ask for those records, and you might even have to produce them.
Yeah, but how long? If you're classifying 3 things every second, what good is FOIA? What good is the Freedom of Information Act? Because the bureaucratic delay to even get a hold of the information, and if there's that much information, it's the oldest trick in any law docudrama that you would see. Just, you want the disclosure evidence? And then they send over 18 semi-trucks filled with boxes. Like, they'll just flood the zone with bullshit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I filed the equivalent of FOIAs at several presidential libraries when I first started out, like 7 years ago. I have not gotten anything from any of them. Now, one reason for this, the one reason why the whole FOIA system has become dysfunctional is because the vast majority of people who submit FOIAs are not historians. They're not journalists. They're not even the people who want to know about the UFOs at Roswell. The people who submit FOIAs, by and large, these are commercial entities. They're private firms, information brokers that are seeking commercial intelligence that they can store in databases and sell to customers. And they are using, like, more than 90% of the FOIAs filed are ones that are filed by these information brokers like Thomson Reuters.
They're data mining. They're basically data mining.
Absolutely, yeah. And then they're reselling this public information to private parties that are able to pay their subscription fees.
See, I don't understand why you're not on every one of these 24-hour news networks explaining just how broken this whole security apparatus and classification system is rather than everybody going, who is more culpable in American secrets, Trump or Biden? Like, nobody is looking at the macro of a system that's utterly broken.
I'd like to think, that people are beginning to realize, like, I notice, like, I'm one of these people, not just like reading the New York Times, but I like to read what their readers say and the most popular comments. And when the Biden story first broke, the first, dozen or so were people saying this is nothing, this is a nothing burger. And then, the next one, the one after that. And finally, by the time you got to like, and then there were the ones next to his Corvette. Then people are like, wait a minute here. There's something wrong with this whole system,
That's
right? So that's me. I'm the guy. But unfortunately, apparently I have a face for radio. So you may not be seeing
Not
your local
true,
television
my
station.
friend. Not true. Handsome as the day is long. I say that. I know you're probably listening to this in your car, but he's dead on wrong.
Very tall too.
Very tall, very handsome. In terms of what's really going on with the security state and all the redactions, and we saw that in the Mueller report, and they made such a big deal of everybody had to go to the SCIF, and then the Republicans tried to storm the SCIF and get into the SCIF, and then the redactions, and there was a breathless coverage of it on the day they released the report, and then everybody forgot about it because nobody goes through and tries to discern what these redactions really mean. So isn't that just another layer of obfuscation that the government can control to keep whatever embarrassment they don't want out into the public sphere?
Yeah, I remember years ago when I first started, working with data scientists, like one thing I found is like their students are much more forthright than the ones you find in, say, our history department here. They will, if they think you're an idiot, they will tell you. And so, so they had all kinds of reactions when we first started working with these declassified documents and all their markings and all their redactions and such. And one of them, God bless her, she talked about this as censorship. And I said, no, this isn't censorship. This is, these weren't meant to be public documents, at least not originally. They're meant to be redacting things that might jeopardize national security. But as the years have gone by, and I see, like, working with data scientists, when we can, train algorithms to start finding, like, what exactly they typically redact, I began to realize it is censorship. It's absolutely censorship. They're trying to redact the historical record to provide a certain version of what happened, which is the one they think is safe to share with
quality,
the rest of us.
bro.
Everybody learned from Nixon, like, you really shouldn't. If you don't have a recording, I'm just going to put this black ink mark over it, and no one's going to be able to discern what it is that we were talking about.
John, did you know that the Joint Chiefs of Staff, they destroyed all the records, or almost all the records of all their meetings back in the early 70s? As soon as they thought somebody might file a Freedom of Information Act request or some other way it might get out, they destroyed all of their records, and then they stopped taking records. It's like a numbers racket. They decided, they should just not commit anything to paper.
And that was the whole thing with the Trump administration. And then anything that was on paper, he would chew up and throw in the toilet. The whole thing is mishigas. How do you rein it in, and how do you gain any kind of control of it? Now, you talk about AI, but I think, boy, if there's anything that's going to lend itself to conspiracy theory, it's allowing ChatGPT to be in charge of our national security state and decide what we need to know and what we don't.
Yeah, so we are going to have to use technology because to a large extent, especially in more recent years, a lot of what's happening, it's just the exponential growth of information generally. And also, it's not just documents, of course, like more and more of it, it's video, it's audio, it's Zoom calls and spreadsheets and all the rest of it. So you just can't continue this system where they have about 2,000 people in the government, in the entire government, there are 2,000 people doing this, going through documents, deciding what can be released to the public. Not when the State Department's producing 2 billion email a year, let alone everything the NSA and everyone else is doing. So we are, I'm sorry to break it to you, but we are going to have to use like machine learning algorithms to begin sorting through all this and prioritizing the information that really does have to be protected most closely. Now, it's not just me. There is this thing, I hope more people start hearing about it. It's called the Public Interest Declassification Board. And this was created by Congress and the White House in order to make sure the public is represented in these kinds of discussions. Now, unfortunately, the PIDB is largely powerless. They have almost no staff.
So there's an $18 billion security and classification state, and then there's a board of public interest civilians.
Unpaid.
Doesn't have any money, unpaid,
Yeah.
and nobody really uses it. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
They're unpaid, they're volunteers, they have no staff, virtually
Okay.
no staff. They're tucked away in the National Archives,
Right.
But, this is supposed to be the voice, of the people, right?
Yes.
Who are supposed to be
Yes.
speaking out.
Ah.
And for 10 years, what they've been saying is we have to begin working with data scientists, developing tools that's going to allow us to get on top of this whole mess. So they're right. They're absolutely right. And the work I've been doing with colleagues, even with declassified data, even with the small budget we have from grants here and there, we've been able to learn a lot, right? And it's entirely feasible. You could build systems, yes, with classified information, within protected systems that could begin to rank order those records that really have to be studied closely and accelerate the release of everything else.
And maybe begin to narrow this regime to actually things that would be in a national security interest.
Absolutely, because this system, it would detect outliers, right? So you would be able to see which officials tend to classify everything top secret. Or on the other hand, which official, maybe is not classifying something that probably ought to be classified. Think of your spam filter. Spam filters have gotten really good, right? I don't know if you go through what they collect, but 99% of the cases, it's spam.
I mean, I mostly take that off because sometimes I feel lonely, and so it helps me feel more popular. But so I'm going to ask you that, and maybe this is it's something that's unknowable. In your research, as you look through it, how much of it is malevolence, how much of it is bureaucracy and incompetence, and how much of it is malevolence taking advantage of administration and incompetence?
Well, if this was the first anyone heard about these kinds of problems, then maybe I'd say, they've screwed up, right? And we should try to fix it. But if you go back through the history as I have, if you dig into the archives and you read, the records, going all the way back to FDR, what you find is from the very outset, they knew that they were building a system where it was all about secrecy, and they did not create any systems to guarantee transparency and accountability. And by the early 1950s, they already realized that overclassification was an enormous and growing problem. And year after year after year, you had committees and commissions in the Pentagon, in the White House. I mean, these were all themselves national security experts saying something has to be done. And every single administration but one, every administration issued a new executive order that was supposed to fix the system. But what happened in every single instance is that what were supposed to be reforms, the reality is they were trying to concentrate power over the system in the White House and among the president's appointees. So that's why I say this isn't just incompetence. There is plenty of incompetence.
This is an intentionally designed labyrinth that no one can negotiate, not necessarily just to protect American security, but to protect the administration.
Yeah, because whoever occupies the White House has sovereign control over what's secret. They can send people to prison for revealing secrets that they define as national security information.
Which they've done.
And they'll keep doing it, right? And so that's why I think ultimately this is about power. This is about the only kind of sovereign power that exists in our political system. The way that presidents get to decide what the rest of us are allowed to know.
Last question, and this would be most shocking revelation in your mind as you went through this. Was there anything that shocked your conscience?
Some of what I studied were things I think a lot of us have heard about, like the radiological experimentation on American servicemen. Some of us might have even heard about, the way they experimented on children, like children who they said were terminally ill but turned out not to be. They experimented on elderly, homeless people. But in a way, what was most shocking was when I found the document where they said, if this gets out, some of us might be liable for prosecution. So we have to make sure that we classify all of this so that nobody ever sees it. To me, even I was a little taken aback. They knew what they were doing. One other reason we know they were doing this and how they knew they were doing it was because it was at the same time the Nuremberg Tribunal was in session. And,
wow.
Yeah, and the very day the very day that American doctors, came up with standards for how you should conduct experiments, right, and make sure that people knew what they were signing up for, that was the day they decided that, in fact, all of this had to be kept secret. So that's that intentionality, that they knew they were engaged in criminal behavior, knowing that they were going to be likened to Nazi doctors, but then they decided they could use secrecy to shield
Holy
themselves.
shit.
Even I was a little taken aback by that.
And I think after all these years, the only thing they probably learned is don't commit that intention in writing. That it's all that now that you know that whatever you put in writing is the historical record, make that up. And
Yes.
I mean, it almost sounds like the mafia, where they just go, let's just use phone booths, or let's never use, anything that can be tracked or traced
Right.
to express our intention. It's so crazy. And who is it in there, and this is just obviously the final question, that killed John F. Kennedy? And what's his name?
We all did, John. We all did.
Dude, well done. Perfect. Matthew Connolly,
Bro, they got
professor of
two
international
motherfuckers
and global
sitting at
history
the
at
goal,
Columbia
bro.
University, author of The Declassification Engine, What History Reveals About America's Top Secrets.
Coming out on Valentine's Day.
You know what? There's no more romantic gift you can give.
There's a love story about FDR in there. So
That's right.
It's
It's-
safe to give for Valentine's Day. I guarantee it. And I'm a married man.
It's the love story between America and its secrets. Please check it out. It's wonderful. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, John.
Come on. Come on. Aw. Ah, fuck you. Yes!
So I was perusing Twitter the other day, and I came across this banger of a tweet from Jessica Ramos. She says, "We've got to tax the rich," and simply shows this picture. Guess it's Kylie Jenner, somebody I don't know, and somebody else I don't know, who's dressed
Bro.
in all red
I don't know, Doja
with,
Cat.
like, red things
I
on
don't
her.
know, Doja
I
Cat,
don't know.
bruh.
But Kylie Jenner has a lion head. Now, my understanding is that this is not an actual lion head, that it was fake, and it was made by somebody who very clearly is really good at what they do. But when you look at this picture, yeah, this looks like Hunger Games type stuff, right? This is like Gilded Age type stuff. And I think it's at like the Paris Fashion Show or something like that. And
Fashion Week.
sometimes a picture's worth not 1,000 words. Sometimes a picture is worth 1,000,000 words. So this got me thinking. This right here got me thinking. And naturally, I went down one of my rabbit holes about, like, let's see how bad this really is with the income and wealth inequality. And look, let's just go through it. This is the new Oxfam report. It just came out. The richest 1% bagged nearly twice as much wealth as the rest of the world put together over the past 2 years. So 1% got twice as much as the rest of the world put together. Does that seem like it's sustainable? That seems a little bit lopsided to me. Just a little bit. It's almost like you're asking for a revolution at this point. So they go on to say billionaire fortunes are increasing by 2.7 billion a day, even as at least 1.7 billion workers now live in countries where inflation is outpacing wages. So 1.7 billion workers are losing ground as billionaires are increasing their fortune by 2.7 billion a day. A day. They go on to explain here, if you tax the top 5% of the world, a tax of up to 5% on the world's multimillionaires and billionaires, okay, so a 5% tax on all the multimillionaires and billionaires, could raise $1.7 trillion a year, and that could lift 2 billion people out of poverty. Think of how much good that would do. And we're just talking about a tax of 5%. These guys wouldn't even feel that. It would be nothing to them.
Fuck, man.
They wipe their ass with 5%, and it could lift 2 billion people out of poverty. So they go on to say the richest 1% got new wealth worth $42 trillion since 2020. Again, I don't know how anybody thinks this is sustainable. I don't know how anybody can look at this state of facts and say, everything's getting better for everybody. This is great. This is looking good. I don't see any potential downsides to this. So, another one for you. The top 1% officially have more money than the entire middle class in the U.S. 1% more than the entire middle class. We've talked about this one a million times.
Oh my.
The top 1%
God,
of Americans
bro.
have taken $50 trillion from the bottom 90%, and that's made the U.S. less secure. This was a Rand Corporation study that came out a few years back. Now that number, by the way, is probably well over $50 trillion. They go on to explain that if you just take the wealth disparity that we had in 1974, and you just say, hey, let's keep the disparity the same that we have it today in perpetuity. So in the future, the ratio would be the same as it was in 1974. If we just did that, everybody in the bottom 90% would have gotten an extra $1,144 every month for the rest of their life. So that's how much class war has been waged on the working class by the rich since just 1974. Right? And it ain't like that was a golden era. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't like everything, we had no problems back then. No. But we've significantly gotten worse since then. You guys have seen the charts of worker productivity shooting up, but wages stagnating. You guys have seen those charts. You guys have seen the numbers that if the minimum wage kept up with inflation and kept up with productivity, it'd be over $20 an hour. Over $20 an hour. The minimum wage is worth less today compared to what it was in 1967, if you account for inflation. That's astonishing. Again, workers are losing ground. They're losing ground. And then because of the Trump tax cuts in 2017, for the first time in U.S. history, billionaires paid a lower tax rate than the working class last year. So look, this is where you got to understand the difference between an effective tax rate and a nominal tax rate. The nominal tax rate is the number they write down on paper, where they say, you're supposed to pay X amount. The effective tax rate is what they actually pay. After you factor in all the loopholes and all the deductions and all the fancy schmancy garbage from the experts and the attorneys who look for these loopholes, right? Look at this chart. Look at this chart, dog. In 2018, the super rich paid a lower tax rate than the bottom 50%. Average effective tax rates of the 400 richest families and the bottom 50% of U.S. households. So you can see, back in 1960, we had the wealthy were paying significantly more as a percentage. Significantly more. Now, for the first time ever, that is not the case. And they go on to give the specifics here. I'll tell you guys. In 2018, the average effective tax rate paid by the richest 400 families in the country was 23%, a full percentage point lower than the 24.2% rate paid by the bottom half of American households. Now, if you go back to 1980, the effective tax rate was 47% for the wealthy. 47%. And again, now, we're all the way down to 23%. So understand something. They're shifting the tax burden to you. That's what they're doing. They're shifting it to you. That is what they're doing.
Oh my god.
It really, it's astonishing. By the way, the very first thing that Republicans did when they took over the House, they passed what's called the fair tax. That's what they called it. By the way, hilarious names. It is the least fair thing I've ever seen. Okay? So part of that is scrap the income tax. Scrap the income tax. Now, right-wingers might look at that and they say, I kind of like that, right? Because I don't like the income tax. Get rid of the income tax. I like getting rid of it. And you could even make an argument, people would say, oh, I think that's actually kind of populist to get rid of the income tax. Nothing could be further from the truth. Because what do they replace it with? They replace it with a sales tax, a national sales tax of 30%. By the way, they kind of lie about what the actual rate is. Some people think it's 23%. It's not. It's 30%. A 30% sales tax. Now, when you crunch the numbers on that, that is a massive, massive tax hike on the working class and the poor, and a massive tax cut for the wealthy. So they act like they're posturing like they're for the working class, as they let the rich guys run away with more money and crack down on the poor and the middle class. This is crazy. It's crazy. Now, by the way, they also virtue signal, we're getting rid of the IRS. Getting rid of the IRS? To the extent you have any federal taxes, you need a federal tax agency. This is not difficult, right? Like, that's obvious, regardless of what you think of the IRS. So in the bill, they scrap it, and then you know what else happens? They go on to admit, like, yeah, we're going to create 2 new federal tax agencies. Wait, what? So you're going to get rid of the IRS, but create 2 new federal tax... So you're doing 2 IRSs effectively, just calling it a different name? Come on, man, this is not serious. None of this stuff is serious. None of this stuff is serious. It is a war on the working class. A 30% sales tax is a regressive tax. It hurts people who need the money, and it lets the rich get away scot-free. And then always got to bring up this chart. I mean, this chart says it all, right? This was from ProPublica. They did some great work a few years back. So they came up with what they call the true tax rate, so the actual amount of taxes paid by some of the wealthiest billionaires. And it is astonishing. So as you can see here, Warren Buffett, his wealth grew $24.3 billion, but he only paid 0.10% in taxes. What? How's that possible? Because the way the way it works is, if you have wealth growth, you're not taxed on the wealth growth, because you could just say, I'm just going to keep that in the corporation and not take it as income, and so you can't tax me on that. So, but he took $125 million.
Damn it, I did it again.
As income, and he still only paid 0.10% in taxes. And remember, Warren Buffett is the guy who back in the day issued a challenge to Wall Street bankers and said, if you can prove to me that you pay a higher tax rate than your secretary does, I'll give you $1 million of my own money. And nobody was able to collect, because nobody could. Because the secretary's making $70,000 a year, we're paying a higher tax rate than the millionaire CEOs. This is the same guy, and he's exploiting the same loopholes. Got Jeff Bezos, Amazon, 0.98% tax rate. And that was at a time when his wealth grew by $99 billion. $99 billion. Michael Bloomberg paid 1.30% in taxes on $22.5 billion of wealth growth and about $10 billion in income. This is astonishing. And then you have Elon Musk. Elon Musk paying the steepest rate of all of them, so props to him. He paid 3.27% on $13.9 billion in wealth creation and $1.52 billion in income that he reported. All these guys are using accounting gimmicking tricks that are probably, by the way, legal. Legal, and that's the problem. Therein lies the problem. You have to get rid of these nonsense loopholes and deductions. You have to get rid of the entire industries of the experts and the attorneys and the accountants whose whole job it is to let rich people get away with paying nothing. Because I got news for you. That tax burden gets shifted to
So,
you.
as you all know,
That's what
Kyrsten
happens.
Sinema,
Probably, by the way,
with much
and
fanfare,
the right
at least in her
wants
own
to
mind,
raise
declared
taxes
her
on working
independence.
people as they pretend like they want to cut it. So, just to reiterate here, we've got to tax the rich. I read a story the other day. Taylor Swift's cat is worth like $97 million. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? A cat is worth $97 million. You can't have that, bro. How is that? What does that even mean? I don't even understand what that means. What does that mean? You have Jeff Bezos. He has a yacht that's so big, it has a yacht. His yacht has a yacht.
Got to be yachting.
63% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. 85 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured. What are we talking about here?
Got homeless.
I can't imagine the mindset of somebody being so cucked that they oppose raising taxes on the rich. After everything I've told you, you have to be mega cucked or just drowning in right-wing propaganda to think, nah, this is good. This is good. Let the rich get away with highway robbery. No, we can't do it anymore. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle.
So, as you all know, Kyrsten Sinema, with much fanfare, at least in her own mind, declared her independence. Of course, she has never been truly independent. She is fully beholden to her corporate donors. We'll have more on that in a moment. But that opened up a big question of, okay, well, what are Democrats going to do in terms of this next Senate cycle? Because Kyrsten Sinema is up for re-election this next cycle, this next time around. And you could see how they have a bit of a problem here. She was not going to be able to win a Democratic primary because Democrats basically hate her guts now. So she declares that she's going to run as an independent. So you have her in the race, a Republican in the race, and you would assume that she would probably take away from any Democrat who jumps in the race. So
what are we
there was
doing
this question, are Democrats just going to let her run and sort of tacitly back her, or are they going to run their own candidate? And now we seem to have a pretty clear answer. It was always likely to go in this direction, which I think is a good thing, because I think democracy is a good thing and more choices are more better. Ruben Gallego, who is a progressive member of Congress and a Iraq War veteran, he has officially announced for Senate and put out his big announcement video yesterday. Let's take a look at a little bit of that.
Growing up poor, the only thing I really had was the American dream. An opportunity. It's the one thing that we give every American, no matter where they are born in life.
Time to step up and be a father figure to my 3 sisters. And skipping my teenage years.
I really did feel that I owed the country something when we got sent to Iraq.
Losing all my friends, consistently being shot at, and people trying to blow you up all the time.
You never really fully come back from the war.
I will be challenging Kyrsten Sinema for the United States Senate, and I need all of your support.
Most families feel that they are 1 or 2 paychecks away from going under. That is not the way that we should be living in this country.
Very smart way, I think, to announce. Emphasizing the background, military service, of course, genuinely heroic in terms of, for those who were just listening, it actually put up on the screen that his Marine units suffered one of the highest casualties, actually, casualty rates, I believe, while he was deployed in Iraq. And then with the economics there at the end to really punch home the message combined with the bio. It's a strong ad. I think it's a very smart play.
Yeah, I thought it was well done too. It was emotional. He talks about growing up in poverty, what that meant, how he had to basically, be a kind of a leader or father figure to his 3 sisters. His mom struggling with paying bills, and he would throw in, it didn't seem gratuitous, but there were a few lines that were thrown in Spanish to kind of, for Arizona, like make clear to voters that he is also fluent in Spanish and culturally connected. So yeah, I thought it was ultimately very effective. And it's going to be interesting to see how this all ultimately plays out, because if it was just Ruben versus whoever the Republicans put up, and there's already talk of Blake Masters running again, there's already talk of Carrie Lake running again, I think he'd have a pretty good shot at that. But it is complicated by the fact that Kyrsten Sinema is hanging out there and, likely to run as an independent. she's not going to be able to win as an independent. But again, which pot does she pull from more? You would have to think it's the Democratic side. So this is going to be complex. It's hard to predict exactly what way this is all going to go because she does not have high favorability ratings among any group in the state of Arizona, not among Democrats, not among Republicans, not among independents. But if she's going to pull votes from somewhere, you would think since she was a former Democrat, it might come more from the Democratic side. We'll see.
Oh, I fucked myself.
At the same time, you know, we covered Davos last week and all the elites gathering at the World Economic Forum, and lo and behold, guess who was there? Hobnobbing with a bunch of bankers and other global elites. Kyrsten Sinema herself, real woman of the people. Let's take a listen to a little bit of what she had to say there.
So, as folks know, I have declared independence from what I consider to be a deeply broken two-party system. Those who know me know that I was always an independent voice and always have been for the things that I believe in and for my state and for my country. But I do think it's important to note that that what you've heard about partisanship, I believe, is accurate.
Bro.
You know, in the last 2 years, if we think, you know, January 6th, which is a horrible day from 2 years ago, created, I think, concern and fear for every patriotic American across the country. But in the resulting 2 years, the Democratic Party shared a narrative that said we would not have any more free and fair elections in this country if the United States Congress didn't eliminate the filibuster and pass a massive voting rights package. As we all know, the filibuster was not eliminated. Joe and I were not interested in sacrificing that important guardrail for the institution. That massive voting rights bill was not passed through Congress. And then we had a free and fair election all across the country.
You still don't agree on getting rid of the filibuster?
That's correct.
Thank you.
A little high five there between two of the most corrupt members of the entire Senate. I mean, it just drives me crazy. We'll fight about the filibuster another day. But it drives me crazy the way that she postures herself like this, oh, truly independent. And she's just speaking up for the voices of Arizona. This is total, complete garbage. She is there for one reason. It's to serve her donors. And I say this because there is a really clear track record. By the way, you know, report from CNBC, of course, she and Manchin and Chris Coons, one of Biden's top advisors, put this up on the screen. They went ahead and met with CEOs, a private Davos luncheon for World Economic Forum. Again, real woman of the people stuff there. And also, she has been the top ally of private equity keeping their goodies in the tax code, a gigantic loophole giveaway that they get in the tax code. She got a bunch of cash from them. She preserved what's called the carried interest loophole. She has continued after she went to bat for them to take their money and receive donations even from executives at the private equity firm whose founder owns the winery where she interned and fundraised. So guys, just don't buy her nonsense here about how she's so independent-minded and she's really there for the people, because it could not possibly be further from the truth.
Well, most people don't buy it. I mean, that's why she has such low favorability. And by the way, it's not like it's actually winning amongst Republicans. She has a low favorability amongst Republicans. The Kari Lake people actually hate her guts. She has a low favorability. I believe it's under 40% amongst Arizona Democrats. One of the reasons that she went independent, but even independents seem to be underwater there. I think that Gallego is going to really push her, because the only way that I could see it is if the DSCC and the Democratic top party comes in and intervenes on her behalf. So, for example, Senator Schumer yesterday would not say anything about whether he would endorse Ruben Gallego. Neither would Dick Durbin, so I believe one of the top Democrats. I know he's one. I think he's
so
Whip, who's there. So they wouldn't even come out and say, yeah, we might support Gallego. Actually, even Bernie Sanders was asked about it, and he was like, well, he hasn't asked yet for my endorsement. And I was like,
I guess to be fair, there are other Democrats who may get into this primary.
That's true.
So I think it's reasonable to wait and see who else gets into the race. But if you're really staring at a three-way race between Gallego, Sinema, and whoever the Republicans ultimately put up, to then stay out is, you know, I think that's absurd. Meanwhile, Manchin is already saying that he would back Kyrsten Sinema, so they've got their, you know, corrupt bond there, I guess, made of with the folks over at Davos.
Yeah, it's an important story. We'll continue to track it. It could end up being one of the hottest primaries, and probably, you know, in terms of her donors, like that would come in big for her. There could be a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
That happens in this race.
One last thing, just to put this in context, I was looking at the first Larry Sabato crystal ball ratings for the Senate for the next cycle, and Democrats are on defense in a lot of places, including Arizona. Arizona, Ohio, and Montana, they have labeled as toss-ups. These are all Democratic-held seats. West Virginia, also Joe Manchin is up. He hasn't said he's running for re-election again, by the way. In fact, he sort of like flirted with running for president. Okay, dude, give me a break. But anyway, they have West Virginia, which is currently held by a Democrat, as lean Republican. So that's 4 states where Democrats are at best a toss-up. Republicans, every single Republican seat that is held right now is effectively safe for them.
Right.
As the ratings stand today, you know, looking forward to the next Senate election cycle. So this state is going to be extremely key if Democrats have any prayer of holding on to their control of the Senate. Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.
Fuck! I don't know.
Extremely wealthy people and corporations that may not be the most sympathetic cases, but are instructive ones nonetheless. What's your counterpoint today, Ryan?
Taylor Swift. So yesterday, the Judiciary Committee convened the first hearing of the year where senators bombarded witnesses with Taylor Swift quotes.
To have a strong capitalist system, you have to have competition. You can't have too much consolidation, something that unfortunately for this country, as a ode to Taylor Swift, I will say, we know all too well.
The focus was on Live Nation's abusive monopoly practices. And here's Clyde Lawrence of Lawrence the Band laying some of that out.
There's literally not been a single time in our career when we've played at a Live Nation venue where we had any opportunity to not have Live Nation be the promoter or not have Ticketmaster be the ticketing company.
And the SeatGeek CEO was on hand to explain how all of this works.
Because Live Nation controls the most popular entertainers in the world, routes most of the large tours, operates the ticketing systems, and even owns many of the venues. This power over the entire live entertainment industry allows Live Nation to maintain its monopolistic influence over the primary ticketing market. As long as Live Nation remains both the dominant concert promoter and ticketer of major venues in the U.S., the industry will continue to lack competition and struggle.
There was also plenty of lying and real-time fact-checking. Here's Ted Cruz questioning the Live Nation president.
How about on the ticketing side? What percent of the market do y'all have?
I would estimate, depending on how you want to count what's in the market, between 50 and 60%.
50 and 60, and depending on how you count it, does anyone have a markedly different measure of that?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
Senator. They have 87% of the ticketing contracts at the NBA and the NHL arenas. They have 93% of the ticketing contracts at the NFL stadiums.
And of course, there were more and more Taylor Swift lines.
I have to throw out, in deference to my daughter Eliza, one more Taylor Swift quote. Karma's a relaxing thought. Aren't you envious that for you it's not? That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
All right, so, I'm not going to punish the audience with many more of them, but it was just all day long.
Yeah.
All day.
Amy Klobuchar jumped in on the fun.
Just right out of the gate.
Didn't Blumenthal?
Of course, all of them. Yeah, every single one had to do it. Now, to start with, of course, this is excellent. Like Ticketmaster, Live Nation, destroy them, fire them into the sun, break them up.
Break them up.
They're the worst.
Break 'em the fuck
but
up.
what's amazing is, who agrees with that is big tech. So after the election, and I got this email that was sent out by NetChoice, which is the.
I got the same
you got
email
that?
and
Yes.
immediately forwarded it to Rachel
Yes.
Bobart.
Yes. And so here's what NetChoice suggested to Congress right after the election. And this one that jumped out at you, too. Congress and progressives like Amy Klobuchar are spending all this time going after tech leaders, including Meta, Google, Amazon, and Apple, which are far from monopolies. Instead, the government should use existing laws and resources to protect consumers and investigate Ticketmaster's anti-competitive practices in the concert marketplace. Like literally.
I want a piece of the pie.
Yes, literally telling Congress to go after Ticketmaster and not them.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for this too. So they elaborated on this argument yesterday in a statement kind of celebrating that Ticketmaster was under the gun. Basically, and it goes back to this consumer welfare standard.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, for 40 years has been the way that we kind of do antitrust policy, which says that as long as a consumer is benefiting, like as long as you can't identify particular price increases, then it doesn't matter if they control 100% of the market and they're abusing everybody else in the market, their suppliers, their other customers, et cetera. As long as the consumer is doing okay, then it's fine. And so what big tech is saying is they are clearly in violation of antitrust law based on the consumer welfare standard. So go after them and don't change the laws, the antitrust laws, to reinterpret what it means to be a monopoly. Because what big tech has said is that, okay, Google is not a monopoly when it comes to search because it's free to do search.
Mm-hmm.
Google is not a monopoly when it comes to ad tech because it's free for the consumer to read these news outlets. Is it a problem that, hey, we're ripping off everybody in the back end and kind of restructuring the culture and the economy? Doesn't matter because it doesn't violate the consumer welfare standard.
Don't worry about it.
Right, exactly. Don't worry about it. Listen to Taylor Swift. Go after Ticketmaster instead.
It's also, it doesn't technically violate the consumer welfare standard by their argument. In some ways, I think you can probably show how it does.
Right, you could.
Yeah,
right.
And I thought,
but it's harder.
Ted Cruz's question was really good there because that's one way these companies get around it is they create these BS calculations by their own metrics, and then when you ask about specific individual cases like the NHL, for instance, as the other witness brought up, you can see this is a joke. I think he said 87% of NHL stadium venue agreements. I mean, that's insane and definitely not good for consumers.
Right. So it might be true that at some Division III college basketball arenas, you can just walk up to the window and buy a ticket. Or, if you're going for a drag queen story hour at the local library, Ticketmaster, right, it's free and it's not a Live Nation Ticketmaster event. You can just walk right in. So therefore, we only really control 50 to 60%. Your Thanksgiving dinner, for instance, didn't use Ticketmaster for that.
Yeah.
Right? So clearly we're not a monopoly over events.
No, the point that you just made from the NetChoice email was just so funny because we didn't talk about this before at all, but I also thought it was a funny email. It's like they're saying, don't change the law. Right. The law works. Just go after the people who are violating the actual law. Take that, let's use this as the most clear-cut, instructive example about why the consumer welfare standard works to regulate monopolies. Leave us alone because we're not in violation of it. That's one thing that's always funny about government regulations is that a lot of the other big players really love to see it, right? Because they know it'll put the smaller guys out. They'll lobby for more regulation. Tim Carney has a great book called The Big Ripoff that you can read on this. They lobby over and over again for more regulation because it ultimately works out better for them. In this case, it's two big guys debating whether it's Ticketmaster or Facebook, Google, Meta, whatever it is, debating over this regulation. But it's so funny.
And frankly, they're not half wrong. They ought to crack down on Ticketmaster. Big Tech and Taylor Swift are both right. They should. Mm-hmm. But that's not a reason to just let Google off the hook.
Do you think they want to sell tickets on Facebook?
Oh, I'm sure they would actually. Yeah. I'm sure Google and Facebook would love to get into the ticket space business. You know what? I bet artists would love it if all of them were in the business.
Hey guys, ready or not,